enables Washington to even matters with New Orleans at 14 apiece. In addition to Williams' sucker punch, this contest featured a clenched fist of a different variety when Jim Dombrowski took a swing at the Skins' Dexter Manley. Dexter's pass-rushing technique, according to the irate Dombrowski, included spitting in his face. After the Saints were penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct, Morton Anderson was forced to attempt a 53-yard field goal. Anderson failed to give New Orleans a 10-point advantage, and Washington eventually knotted the game at 24. Finally, Chip Lohmiller's three-pointer provided the Redskins with a 27-24 win that can be attributed in part to a man who loves to hog the spotlight, a rather devious defender named Dexter.
He hit me right with his fist. What'd I do to him? Did you see me hit him back? I didn't do anything. The ref called 15 yards on him.
While NFC East contenders have been generating more light than heat, Neil Lomax and the surprising Cardinals are maintaining a healthy glow. Last Sunday, however, their place in the sun was nearly eclipsed by the visiting 49ers. In building a 23-0 advantage, San Francisco's league-leading offense gained more than twice as much yardage as Phoenix. But faced with an impending blowout, the Cards suddenly exploded in dramatic fashion as Lomax engineered 4 scoring drives in the final 18.5 minutes. Lomax's 3 touchdown passes, 2 of them to Roy Green, included a last-gasp game winner.
Here come the Cardinals. J.T. Smith to the near side. Roy Green, Ernie Jones, Jay Novacek split out. From the shotgun is Lomax. 6 seconds left in this one. Lomax taking his time. The clock won't start until they snap the football. They're moving around. The blitz coming. Lott is coming. Lomax throws it. Green. He's got him. Touchdown. Touchdown, Phoenix.
The Cardinals' 24-23 triumph enabled them to equal Washington's 6-4 record, good for a second-place tie in the conference. Without a whole lot of fanfare, Neil Lomax is enjoying one of the finest campaigns of his 8-year career. But veteran signal callers just aren't earning much ink in a season that has seen up-and-coming quarterbacks dominate the headlines. John Robinson and Buddy Ryan happen to coach 2 such passers, who last weekend at Veterans Stadium proved just why they are on the brink of superstardom. Ryan's Eagles boast Randall Cunningham, and he exploited Robinson's Rams for over 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. In the third period, Cunningham broke a 10-10 deadlock when he connected with Keith Byers on a 4th-and-1 play.
He's lofting a pass from Byers at the 10. Touchdown! Cunningham to Byers. He took Mark Giroux and Johnny Johnson to the cleaners.
Robinson's young gun is Jim Everett, and he countered Cunningham by throwing for 377 aerial yards and a pair of scoring passes that gave him the NFL lead in that department. Everett brought the favored Rams to within 6 points of the Eagles, but with 28 seconds remaining to play and the ball on Philadelphia's 28-yard line, he saw the bottom fall out of his bid to put L.A. on top.
This is a big play right here. Back goes Everett again. He's being chased. He's being hit as he fires the football. Intercepted! Intercepted by Flosell. And this is going to be one of the biggest Eagles wins in years.
Cunningham's arm gave Philadelphia the upper hand in a 30-24 win that put the Eagles just 2 games behind the NFC East leading New York Giants. At the Meadowlands, Giant fans shouted out the traditional battle cry.
Go deep!
And the Giant defense responded in their historic manner.
Red! 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 Johnny! Red! Guard! Get out! Guard! Guard! Look!
Valor looking. Hit! Free ball. Scramble. Giants have it. Let's see if it's a fumble.
Good job. Good job. Don't worry about it. It's going to come. It's going to come.
Hurry up! Let's go! Go! Get in the huddle! Get that back in the huddle!
The Giants jumped out to a 26-0 lead behind 2 touchdowns by Stephen the Touchdown Maker Baker, number 85.
2nd and and goal from the 6. Sims is going to pass. If he has a chance, they're after him. He throws. No signal. Yes! Touchdown! He had both feet in.
That Baker is sensational.
In the second half, the Cowboys, who have been accustomed to blowing big leads, almost overcame one. The defense found the key to stopping New York. Then the offense unlocked the Giants' defense. Once sitting ducks, the Cowboys turned the game into a turkey shoot by using number 34, Herschel Walker, as a decoy. At the heart of the rally was Kevin Sweeney, number 19, a 5'10" reserve quarterback who threw for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the second half.
Now has flushed out right. Throws it on the dead run. Caught in the end zone. Michael Irvin. Let's go. You got to suck it up, Ricky. Let's go. Go, team. Get out. Sweeney back to throw on 4th down. Into the end zone. It's a touchdown. An unbelievable catch by Ray Alexander coming across the middle. Boom.
Boom went bust as the comeback fell just short, and the Cowboys fell further behind in the NFC East, despite a towering effort from their midget quarterback.
Well, I wouldn't give him that much credit. He looked like a flutie, and he was able to get in there and do some things, particularly on their 4th down conversions. He hit some big ones that were key for them, and, you know, that helped him. I just shudder to think what would happen if he'd started the game.
A Giant defense that has allowed 19 touchdown passes will have to be at its best this Sunday in Phoenix, where Neil Lomax has revived the cardiac Cardinal tradition of a decade ago.
Hey, Phoenix is
Blur of ramsacked quarterbacks and special team disasters. But last Sunday, Bruce Smith and the Bills reversed the trend. The AFC's leader in sacks, Buffalo limited Seattle to 145 total yards. Despite this, the Seahawks were within a touchdown late in the game and forced Buffalo to surrender the ball.
Angled off to the left, and it hits a man and rolls way up. It hit a Seattle player, and it's picked up there by Bentley, and I believe the Bills may have
the fumble recovery sealed the lid on the Bills' 13-3 victory. Boasting a league-best 9-1 record, the Bills had cause for celebration. Celebration was not on the mind of Ray Perkins, though it was his 47th birthday Sunday. Yet the Tampa Bay coach would have reveled over a winning performance from his beleaguered quarterback.
Testaverde to the air again. Fires one open is Hill, and he makes a tremendous catch.
But Vinny Testaverde's third-quarter scoring strike to Bruce Hill was a token birthday gift that was belated, to say the least. For the most part, Testaverde wound up empty-handed and out of time. But the Bears' #1 ranked defense coaxed Vinny into giving away a gift or two for themselves. Even without the fiery presence of head coach Mike Ditka, who was recovering from a mild heart attack, the Bears demonstrated the kind of tenacious defense that has made them the NFL's toughest team to score on. While Testaverde was forced into seeing double-duty action at free safety, his counterpart Mike Tomczak's role was far less demanding. Replacing the injured Jim McMahon, all Tomczak had to do was to calmly get the ball to receivers like number 85, Dennis McKinnon. Bears' top-billed defense is the main reason for their first-place standing. Tomczak earned his share of the headlines last Sunday by throwing for 2 touchdowns.
Get back to throw. Tomczak lost the left side, going for it. Touchdown! Touchdown!
With the 28-10 win, the Bears enjoy a 2-game lead for first in the NFC Central. A pair of AFC heavyweights met in Houston Monday night, but despite the pregame fraternization, the Oilers' defense had no difficulty showing their mean streak. The Oilers simply dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage. Their pulverizing ground attack combined with a mistake-free performance by quarterback Warren Moon to stake Houston to a 21-3 third-quarter lead. However, the Browns fought their way back into the game with a pair of second-half touchdowns that pulled them to within 4. But a relentless Oiler pass rush forced a bad snap from center, ultimately foiling the Browns' comeback attempt. The Oilers' tenacious defense was the difference in their 24-17 triumph, something their fans are becoming accustomed to as the Oilers are undefeated at home this season. Houston's rugged defense has allowed only 73 yards rushing in the last 2 games. The ability to stuff the run will serve the Oilers well in Seattle this Sunday against a Seahawk offense that has scored just 5 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks.
The Oilers are starting to put it together, folks. They've got a strong running game going, plus they've got a stout defense against the run. Without those elements, you simply do not make it to the Super Bowl. Well, a gentleman that knows all about that, knows all about
fast and left Miami drowning in a sea of red. The Dolphins finally woke up and fought back. But they had already overslept too long. Their top-rated passing offense typically failed to convert high yardage into points, while their defense failed to contain Patriot rookie John Stevens, who rushed for his 3rd straight 100-yard game.
Handoff Stevens, cuts it to the outside on the left, gives some running room. He could be gone. Touchdown!
Miami's 21-10 loss dropped them to 0-4 in their division, so while they're just a half game out of second place, their playoff chances are growing slim. Prior to the season, many expected the Denver Broncos to begin a slow descent from the heights of the NFL's elite. But after allowing 94 points in their previous 2 games, Mile High fans last Sunday were fearing a crash. Indeed, the Broncos' talent seemed to have faded so fast that a casting call went out for some new blood. Unfortunately, the casting director must have seen Denver's recent performances and assumed the Broncos were looking for players who can do comedy. So the Broncos were stuck with their other new star, Tony Dorsett, and the results weren't very funny.
Pitch the ball to Dorsett, starts right, safety. He is tackled in the end zone by Dino Hackett. Never got back to the goal line.
John Elway has always been able to compensate for Denver's traditional rushing problems. This season, poor decisions have led Elway to poor play. And in the AFC, only Dan Marino has thrown more interceptions. But as number 67 Mike Stensrud's running style suggests, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't the league's swiftest team either. Still, what virtues the Chiefs lack in ability, they make up for in charity. Kansas City's kindness knew no bounds, but it appeared that since neither team could do anything with the ball, neither team wanted it. Eventually, Denver claimed the loose ball and the victory.
Elway gets the snap. He looks right. He cocks once, now twice, and throws in the end zone. Touchdown, Denver. A leaping
Denver escaped with a 17-11 victory that hardly had the Hollywood-type heroics one used to expect from Elway. And as the man they used to call the Duke rode off into the sunset, he had to wonder if happier endings lay ahead. The sun could be setting slowly for San Diego Chargers head coach Al Saunders, whose team has lost 14 of their last 16 games. Last Sunday against the Raiders was a typical fright night. Saunders' saving grace may be the clumsiness of his division rivals as the Raiders and Chargers locked horns in an utterly forgettable battle. But the Raiders kept charging like a wounded bull, and they finally broke through when Charger cornerback Roy Bennett, number 23, gave new meaning to the term matador defense.
Your line, long count, back to throw. Lots of protections, gonna run. Runs to the 10, throws, end zone, caught, touchdown!
LA overcame its problems and limped to a 13-3 win, but the Chargers have troubles that run much deeper, and even their opponents can't bear to watch. In San Diego, Air Coryell is just a fond memory. Last Sunday, the Chargers lost their 6th straight game and were held without a touchdown for the 4th time this season. This week in Atlanta could mean more of the same against the Falcon defense that is coming off its first shutout since 1982.
Berline is a quarterback coming right at you. It looks like the defensive back actually gets out of the way so the man can make the reception for the touchdown. Watch, right here. Man, get out of the way. I've never, Nick, seen anything quite like that. Maybe that explains some of the problems with the Chargers. You know, Alex Spanos...
Too often this season, the Minnesota Vikings have turned potential blowout victories into narrow escapes, which is why head coach Jerry Burns was happy to welcome Detroit to the Metrodome, because you don't have to work hard to stop the Lions. They usually do it themselves. Rusty Hilger failed to untangle the league's worst offense, while the Vikings' Wade Wilson enjoyed the best day of his career.
With 4 wideouts, ready to put it up again. Waits, finally fires. Jim Gustafson, touchdown, Minnesota! Gustafson scores!
Wilson threw for 391 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Vikings outgained the Lions by an overwhelming 553-89.
Sprint draw, Rick Benny off the right side. Benny's got some room, 15-10. Benny to the 5. Benny's in. Whoa. Touchdown, Minnesota. Oh, a 20-yard gem for Rick Benny. What a run.
Minnesota's prayers for a blowout were answered courtesy of the Lions. But in Atlanta, the heavens haven't smiled on the Falcons all season. Entering Sunday's game, Atlanta hadn't won at home this year. But with the Packers in town, it was a perfect chance for the Falcons to literally steal a victory. Here, number 76, Mike Gann, strips Keith Woodside of the ball to set up one of 3 Falcon fumble recoveries. Atlanta entered the game with the lowest rated defense in the NFL, but against the Packers, even the most beleaguered of teams can receive some unexpected blessings. Number 25, Scott Case, hauled in 2 of the Falcons' 4 interceptions, which gave Atlanta 7 takeaways on the day and made life easy for quarterback Chris Miller and the Falcon offense.
A lot of men on the line. He fakes it, bootlegs. Miller stops, fires, long ball, trying to get in the corner, and touchdown! Gene Lang took it away from a back. Perfectly thrown ball. Miller wound up as a blitz knocked him upside down, and Lang caught a 50-year-old bomb.
The Falcons' surprisingly easy 20-0 victory marked the second straight week the Packers have been shut out. And while Atlanta blew out Green Bay with defense, the Bengals probably could have blown out the Steelers Sunday even if head coach Sam Weish had taken the snaps on offense. But Weish decided to let Boomer Esiason run the show, and as expected, the Bengals ran over everything in sight. Number 30 rookie running back Ickey Woods showed as much mercy for the officials as he did for the Steelers defense, as he needed just 10 carries to rack up 110 yards.
Big hole, 45 to midfield. Now he's down the near sideline to the 40, all the way to the 30, to the 20, the 15, and he'll be run out of bounds at about the 7-yard line.
Woods combined with James Brooks to help the Bengals average more than 6 yards per carry against the virtually defenseless Steelers.
Esiason gives the ball to Brooks, who's running wide to the right. He cuts in, will get to the 5, touchdown! James Brooks goes all the way down and slides almost under the stands before he can stop. But Brooks gets his 3rd touchdown run of the afternoon. And the Bengals just really pouring it to the Steelers now.
If it wasn't Brooks or Woods on the ground, it was Esiason and Eddie Brown through the air.
Play action. Boomer keeps the ball all alone down the middle. It's Eddie Brown.
The Bengals amassed 559 total yards, the most ever given up by a Steeler team. And while Cincinnati was exercising plenty of offense, the Colts are finally exercising some authority in the AFC East. After a 1-5 start, Indianapolis has picked up their playoff pace of 1987. And it is rookie quarterback Chris Chandler who is helping the offense hit a healthy stride.
Traffic gets to the right. He's got it open. He's at the 30. He's at the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Chris Chandler. He rolls to the right.
Chandler's elusiveness was nothing new, as for the 4th straight game, he avoided being sacked.
Chandler back to throw. Sets up, throws one deep, intended for Verdant. Clearance is there. Touchdown, Verdant.
The Colts probably would have worked up more of a sweat Sunday afternoon doing aerobics, as like the Vikings, Falcons, and Bengals, they got a victory the easy way, by a blowout. The Colts, winners of 4 straight, look to continue their belated charge for the playoffs this Sunday. But the AFC West 5 teams have been running way behind schedule. But at Seattle's Kingdome last Sunday, the Seahawks' Dave Craig was back on track after a 7-game absence, and he conducted an offense that derailed the favored Houston Oilers. In the first period, Craig and Warren Moon, who threw a 57-yard touchdown to Drew Hill, chose air travel as the fastest, most efficient form of transportation. Moon is also a threat to run, but when 2 Seattle defenders committed themselves to stopping a quarterback keeper, Moon pitched back to Alan Pinkett on an option play. Houston assumed a 24-17 lead in the 4th period, but the Seahawks picked up steam when John L. Williams chugged his way to a 44-yard score. Then, with 1 second remaining in the game, Norm Johnson severed this knotted contest.
Nice snap. It's down. Johnson's kick. It's long enough. Good! Johnson kicks the through for 46 yards out. And the time runs out. Ball game over. Seahawks have won it here at the Kingdome this afternoon.
The Seahawks' 27-24 victory put them in a 3-way divisional tie with Los Angeles and the Broncos, whose severely tarnished defense regained some of its lost sparkle against Cleveland at Mile High Stadium. Ernie Kosar suffered 6 sacks, and the Browns, who hadn't won in Denver since 1970, turned the ball over 4 times during the first half. The Broncos translated all 4 Cleveland miscues into points, and they scored on their first 6 possessions, including a John Elway touchdown pass to Steve Sewell.
38 seconds to go. Quick throw. Sewell, he'll score. Touchdown. Steve Sewell wide open in the right flat.
Elway displayed a winning glow by throwing for a pair of scores in a 30-7 rout that improved Denver's record to 6-5. The Los Angeles Raiders also freshened up their winning makeup last Sunday when they journeyed to Candlestick Park, home of a struggling 49er team that many feel has been wearing a mask of indifference lately. But against L.A., the Niners sported a look of determination as they sought to avoid losing successive games for the first time in 4 seasons. But during a contest in which neither team would score a touchdown, Roger Craig and the Niners offense continually challenged Los Angeles, only to be confronted by an obstacle that proved to be too tall and too tough for them to hurdle. The Raiders eventually found the key to success in their ground game, which accumulated nearly twice as many rushing yards as the 49ers' running attack that began the day ranked number 1 in the league. The legs of Bo Jackson and number 32 Marcus Allen made it possible for the toe of Matt Barr to generate 3 field goals, including a 50-yarder, as the resurgent Raiders nailed the faltering 49ers 9-3. Throughout 1988, the AFC West has been regarded as pro football's weakest division, but Sunday saw each of the 5 teams in that division beat an opponent with a better record. The members of the AFC West may never run ahead of schedule on that journey to the summit, but last weekend at least, they traveled in style. This Sunday, a Raider defense that held Roger Craig, the NFC's leading rusher, to 58 yards will look to contain a Falcon running game that ranks 4th in the NFC and features Rookie of the Year candidate John Settler. Over the Rams, who met the Saints in a hair-raising battle for first place in the NFC West.
Let's go, Rams! Let's go, Rams! Let's go, Rams! Let's go, Rams!
Let's go now. Hey, wait now. Rock and roll, baby. Okay, now everybody be on sides. We're going left, and let's start this. Go for it. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
You needed to catch that. Good catch, Rook. 36A. Don't he play it now?
In this hostile environment, the Saints needed a stiff upper lip as much as a stiff arm, for one slip-up meant their 3rd loss in a row.
Go get it, Hughes. Go get it, baby. Go get it.
Out of the way! Hit it! Club! Let's go! Club, right, drop, 16 Joker, drop.
So it will be 2nd and goal from the 4 on the draw play. Hilliard inside the 5, inside the 1, inside the end zone for the touchdown, New Orleans.
Keep coming! Keep coming! Keep...
While the Saints bubbled, the Rams were fizzling out like flat champagne.
I'll set now. Don't show the press on number 2 quick, especially 84. When we're man. If you want to show it in zone, show it. That 10,000 times we've been over there.
The Rams re-entered this game through the back door, ditching their sophisticated playbook for a sandlot grab bag of trick plays. The most bizarre play came on a 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. Greg Bell's touchdown pulled the Rams within reach at 14-10, and with 50 seconds remaining in the game, quarterback Jim Everett had victory in his grasp, only to see it slip away.
Back, stepping up, throwing into the end zone, and it is intercepted by Atkins. Oh, what an interception for the touchback!
We hung together, we fought, you know, we bend, we never break. This team, you know, the character is just tremendous. It's great, you know, and finally we're number one. We're going to stay number one. We're going to continue to work hard and do the things that got us here.
In Arizona, the desert sun, which has had such a therapeutic effect on its state citizens, has done wonders for Neil Lomax. The Cardinal quarterback came into the game with an arthritic hip and the hottest hand in the league. Against New York's once proud defense, the Phoenix attack piled up nearly 500 yards and 3 touchdowns to brilliantly outshine the Giants in this battle for a share of the division lead. In the fourth quarter, the Cardinals put the game away on a simple slant pattern. It was Lomax's last play, and by far, the biggest.
Taken by Green to the 30 and a first down to 15, down to the 10-yard line. He's going to score.
Roy Green's 44-yard touchdown broke a 4-game New York win streak and brought the two teams even atop the NFC East. However, Lomax suffered an injured knee, and despite Arizona's healing sunshine, his status for the playoff drive is shaky. In Dallas, Kevin Sweeney was determined to know how he measured up to great quarterbacks of the recent past. But Sweeney's first start, instead of being Kevin Heaven, became a primetime hell for the half-pint quarterback. Sweeney was sacked 5 times, threw 4 interceptions, and fumbled twice as the Cowboys were completely overwhelmed and embarrassed by the NFC's top-ranked defensive unit.
It's scooped up. The Vikings have got it. Touchdown, Minnesota, and it's Henry Thomas. About 3 or 4 of the defensive linemen all had a chance, but it was Hardware Hank, Henry Thomas.
While Sweeney passed for a paltry 93 yards, Minnesota's Wade Wilson threw for a trio of touchdowns, aided and abetted by the Cowboys' confused coverage. The 43-3 thrashing kept the Vikes in pursuit of the playoffs, while Dallas was defeated for the 7th straight game. No longer among the NFL's elite, it won't get any easier as the Cowboys host the Bengals this Sunday. Caught in the midst of the longest losing streak since its debut in 1960, Dallas has now lost 7 straight in 23 of its last 31 non-strike games.